all from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Hi,
I'm Beth.
I'm Tim.
I'm Jessica, and we're just your everyday
Methodist to the madness.
Hey, everybody.
We are.
Hey, Beth. Hey,
Going,
Jessica.
Beth. Feeling quite hydrated.
Yeah, I was thinking that we're going episode by episode. It's kind of like we're leapfrogs or something, on lily pads.
Leapfrogs on lily pads.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the real path to heaven? It's not a stairway to heaven. It's a
leapfrog on lily
pad to heaven.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a path of lily pads to heaven.
That sounds
That's amazing. Yeah. Well, how are you guys doing? Beth, any updates from this past week?
Oh, yeah. So, let's see. 4th of July, we don't usually go out for 4th of July just because the dogs don't really like it. And so we've never had a problem with them running away or anything. And they don't, I feel like our dogs, they're not really that scared of them. They just find them kind of annoying. So there's a lot of barking going on. So we just stayed home and we watched the fireworks on the overhang from our backyard. There were a lot this year. It felt like there were more this year than there usually are. But
where did you see them? Where were they being shooting off?
This was mostly the neighborhood fire. I live in West Lancaster by the In-N-Out and I-20th West. And the fairgrounds is on H and 20th. And so we get to see the fairgrounds ones from our house without having to worry about pesky parking. And we stayed home and watched the fireworks and we played a couple of games. There's a game we like. Tim, I was telling you about these games yesterday. We play a game called Loaded Questions. And I think Nicole, who is one of our new listeners now, I think she would know Loaded Questions. Yeah, we used to play Loaded Questions. Basically, you have a stack of questions and you have one person who reads the question and then the rest of the people have to answer the question. And then the person who read the question has to guess who said what answer. And we have never played it in a serious style ever. So all of our answers are just super ridiculous, and which makes it fun. We laugh a lot when we play. And I bought this game called The Chameleon from one of those pallet stores where they just sell the stuff, the Amazon returns and stuff. And I bought this game for $3 called The Chameleon. And it's a newer game. I've seen it at Target and stuff. We played that one too. And that one was really fun as well.
Nice.
I don't know if you want me to explain that one, but basically, one person gets a card that says you're a chameleon, try to fit in. And then the other players get a card that just has different codes on it. And then there's a main playing card that'll have movies or books or whatever. And then so you look at the card that you were dealt and then someone rolls the dice and it'll say 3 blue or something. I can't remember how they do it, but so you look on your card and go to that. And then you can see the word on the card. And so let's say the movie's Indiana Jones or whatever. You have to say a word that's associated with Indiana Jones, but not too obvious.
You can't say Indiana.
No, I would say something like Boulder or something. And then,
right.
So whoever's the chameleon has to listen to what the other words are and try to see if they can get one without other people knowing that they're the chameleon. I was the chameleon so many times when we played, and I hate being the chameleon. It's so stressful, but it's also so fun when I'll say something and then like they start laughing and they're like, "Yep, Mom's the chameleon," because whatever I said was so not in the category of the word. Yeah, it was really fun. So that was our 4th of July, and then Saturday I did quilting with Tim. Well, we didn't quilt, but I tried to teach Tim how to do the knitting. The knitting loom is what we use.
Yeah.
Nice.
And Sunday, I wasn't even going to come to church for choir because I didn't go to the rehearsal the week before. And I also didn't think, oh, that's because I didn't go to rehearsal because it was the 4th of July.
Right. There was no rehearsal.
That's correct.
So, yeah. So I think it was Jody who reminded me. She was like, oh, choir's singing tomorrow. You should come. And I was like, okay. And I probably wouldn't have if Jody didn't say anything. But I'm glad I did because my mom read the scripture yesterday via video, and I had no idea that was happening. I texted my mom yesterday, and she was like, "Did you know that I was going to be reading the scripture?" And I was like, "I had no idea." Like the first I knew of it was when I saw your face up on the screen. And so that was fun. I got to see my mom, and I also got to see Cathany Ankeny in person.
Yeah,
because he was here. Yeah, so and I probably have other stuff that I could tell you guys about, but I was too excited about yesterday seeing my mom and Cathany Ankeny in one day. So
that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Oh, wait, I did go see that movie. The third. No, never mind. I talked about it last week.
Wait,
Inside.
No, I didn't.
Inside Out 2? No.
You're gonna have
one, but we talked about it last week.
The what?
One, A Quiet Place. It was the third one.
Oh, yeah. I think we did talk about it last week. Yeah.
No,
that's great.
Yep.
That's good. Nice. Very nice.
Jessica.
Well,
going on?
Been a little busy. We got back. You know what? Our trip down to Costa Mesa, Irvine over 4th of July weekend was awesome. And I say this because we only stayed for one night. And I think we're going to do that if we have to again. The goal is that we don't go back, right?
Yeah.
And we stayed at this hotel that we're definitely going to visit again if we have to. And the weather was beautiful. A slight chill in the morning after free breakfast. It was like 72 degrees that morning.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I look at the weather up here and it was like already 90 degrees.
I don't think it's been 72 degrees this entire summer in the Antelope.
Yeah, it's insane. So, it was really nice. Like we had a wonderful stay. We went to a really nice place for dinner the Friday night. And I had a panini that had prosciutto, fig jam, brie, and I don't remember what else. But it was on ciabatta bread. And let me tell you, not only did it feel like I was having Captain Crunch and my mouth was destroyed, but it was so delicious. I literally would love to go back because I've been dreaming about that panini ever since.
Wow.
The place that we went to was called Postino Park Place. Postino Park Place. And it amazing. If you look at the pictures inside, they have an entire wall of stacked jukeboxes. Or not jukeboxes, but of boom boxes.
Oh, cool.
And so all those old school, like 80s, 90s style, more like 80s style boom boxes. The entire wall was just stacked like a Tetris. It was so cool.
That's cool.
But so that was a lot of fun. And then when we got back on Saturday, it was like Operation Cool Down All the Animals. And it's been like that basically ever since.
I can understand.
Yeah, but another cool thing I'm going to share is, and it is also food related, is we tried the Brooklyn Deli in Lancaster for the very first time.
Deli.
We tried it for the very first time on Sunday after church, and I got the Reuben sandwich, and it was so good.
What?
So good.
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to try that place.
That's kind of like I don't really. Oh, it's because Jonah isn't in school as much as Owen is because he's doing independent study.
Oh,
and
cool.
That kind of became the place where Craig and Jonah and I would go on Fridays sometimes on it when Craig didn't have to work. And
yeah,
I am definitely gonna have to visit that place.
You'll have to. It's so good, and I'm excited to go back there.
Oh, and the people are so nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Please tip them generously because they do an amazing job.
That place is so good. I love it so much.
Yeah. So I'm excited to go back there at some point. It was a little warm for a little jaunt around the boulevard. It was
probably why we haven't been.
Yeah. And their air conditioner broke on them.
No.
And so we walk in and it's not too bad. They have this like massive, unit that's trying to have air come out. But it still did not ruin the experience. It was delicious. We're excited to go back. So a lot of positive places that I hope everybody can kind of visit at some point if you haven't already. Other than that, that's all I got. Good. So Tim, what about you?
So I'm glad that Beth brought up the 4th of July and the quilting because I don't know, the last 2 days, yesterday and today, I guess were so impactful that I forgot that I did those really eventful things. But yeah, just to give kind of a rundown on the week, I went to the the annual fair in Lancaster, but it wasn't the fair. It was actually not even really an annual. So scratch the annual part. It's just the AV fair.
No, it wasn't a fair.
No, it wasn't. It was a pretend fair because there were no fair related things other than food trucks and that there were a whole bunch of people there.
Basically, what you're saying is life isn't fair. Is that what you were trying to say?
Yeah, actually,
my mom told me all my life.
if a person was expecting to get a fair experience for 4th of July, it was not at all a fair experience. So yes, it was not fair. But to be clear though, I had a great time over there. Basically that is like the front and center place to see the AV fair fireworks instead of just kind of finding a parking spot on Avenue G or something like that.
Or sitting on your awning in your backyard.
Yeah. Actually, that sounds pretty good. A lot better than trying to find a parking spot that doesn't exist in another part of Lancaster.
But I do have a confession to make.
What?
Oh, the movie I was going to talk about watching was I watched The Fall Guy with my family.
You did?
I really wanted to see that.
So
How was it?
It's really good. I liked it. I bought it like a few weeks ago because I watched it with my dad, and it was like either you could rent it for $19.99 or you could buy it for $24.99.
Oh, okay.
That's $5. They're basically the same price. So I just
buy it. Yeah.
I was like, I'll probably watch this later, and I did. So.
Oh, cool. Do you recommend that movie?
Yeah, it's really good.
Oh, cool. Oh, that's great. That's great to hear.
But the thing I was going to say is I don't think fireworks are as great as the whole of America does. Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, now that you mentioned that,
boring
Beth,
after a while.
Right. I don't know. It's kind of interesting because when I was younger, I really didn't appreciate fireworks at all. But now that I'm like older, like in my adulthood, it seems like every year I'm like, forgetting what fireworks were like until the next year. And I'm like, oh, the fireworks are so amazing and cool and like just visual art. But then after the fireworks are over, I'm like, well, wait, no, I don't really care that much about fireworks. So I think I really appreciate it in the moment, for sure.
I like the idea of fireworks better than execution.
Right, exactly. So
I hear drone shows are the next new thing.
Oh, yeah. The ones with like the lights like spinning around and like, oh yeah, that's awesome. I hope they have that for like the next few years or something. But yeah, so the AV Fair show was really nice, actually. They did a really good job, like the finale, and they had a little bit of music, but they actually had bits of silence in there, and that's really interesting. I hadn't had a firework experience like that before, because usually it's just all music or no music at all. So it's kind of like cool that they broke it up that way. So yeah, I had a nice time over there at the AV Fair with fireworks and all that stuff. So then the quilting thing, I didn't do quilting, but yeah, like Beth was saying, I used the loom. It's so much easier than trying to use like some kind of knitting operation with my hands or crocheting operation. Because my hands won't do what I tell them to do. But with the loom, it's like, okay, well, if it falls off the loom, then it wasn't really my hand's fault. It was something associated with manipulating the loom. Yeah, it's the loom's fault. But yeah, it was so nice. I got the loom here. Beth had me take it home, and that's something that I could start working on as like a meditative exercise or something, and just kind of. And what I'm going to do is make a hat out of it. So maybe it'll be like a winter hat, which is not at all appropriate for right now, it being 115 degrees outside. But it'll be a good like preparation for new projects going forward. I'll get some experience. And it was really nice too, like seeing everybody, and like I had some nice conversations with Beth and some of the other folks there, and Lori in particular was showing me like how she was able to knit all of these different things, and it was like really like masterful work that she was doing. Like she made this amazing shawl, and she was able to put holes in the shawl and like a really interesting design and stuff. I don't know if I'll ever get to that point where I can like knit some kind of masterpiece or crochet some kind of masterpiece, but at least I can do my part and learn this fun activity. So then I'll go into like the insight part of my check-in, because apparently I'm always like, oh yeah, I forgot to mention that. I wanted to mention again that you got to remember that my nickname is Timothy Epiphany, because for some reason I keep sharing something that I figured out every single week. So this week I figured out that I've had delayed gratification. Like that's just not even the entire thing that I should have been encountering or just like thinking about. Because if you're just looking forward to the reward and what you're doing in the moment is a drudgery, then why would you like continue for very long? And I think that's been my problem all along. And so somehow like, okay, this is what happened. So based on the previous week, I was thinking about that effortful mindset thing. And I started doing Google searches on like effort and how to make effort more comfortable. And I found an article from Psychology Today, and there was a lot of stuff in the article I didn't really agree with, but there was one thing that I agreed with, and it said something about try to make play out of effort or things that you're doing that are work oriented. And so I'm like, this is the one thing that I was not doing this whole time, not making the thing fun that I'm looking forward to like having the completion for. So in other words, if I want to complete something and I'm looking forward to like the finale of that task or whatever it is, that doesn't mean that I can't have like gratitude and enjoyment while I'm doing it at the same time. So it's like gratification in the moment, like like appreciating what you're doing because it's like providing value for you, but then also looking forward to like completing it in the end. So it kind of reminds me of what we're doing like with VBS. Like we have to prepare all this stuff and we're trying to have fun while doing it. But we definitely look forward to the completion as well. So if I can do that with all the things that I'm doing, then there's no reason why I can't like, I don't know, do ordinary stuff like going to the grocery store and doing just random chores, because I'm going to be so much happier if I have food, but also I can make it fun going to the grocery store by like turning music on in my car and like kind of being curious about the different like food or something like that in the store. So yeah, it was an interesting insight, but I also saw Despicable Me 4, and I hadn't seen any of the other Despicable Me movies.
And you chose the fourth one?
Yeah, because my mom was like, "Oh, Will Ferrell is playing one of the characters," and I had never done that before, where I actually like watched a sequel intentionally, knowing that it was a sequel and knowing that I would be missing out on some part of the plot. But I actually really enjoyed the movie despite that. So for anybody that hasn't seen or has seen Despicable Me and all the different movies that they have, I recommend Despicable Me 4. It's pretty fun CGI movie.
Nice.
I just want to mention that I tried to take my kids to see it. They didn't want to go, so we went to see a different movie. And then I found out the next day that Owen went to see that movie with his friend. So I'm not
How
even
could
going to
he?
bother.
That's an abomination. How could he?
Now I'm like, I don't even want to see it now.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I can totally understand that, Beth.
It's
one last update. So I did manage to find some balance and centering, as I put it in my prayer request last week for my having carbs instead of keto. And I think one thing was going to like restaurants and stuff like that. Like my mom and I like to go to restaurants sometimes and kind of just like roughing it and trying to figure it out there. I realized that I think I was like eating way too much rice in my one meal. I think I can like function pretty well on like 2 cups of rice instead of 4 cups of rice, because that is just way too much rice. Like, honestly, like it just takes way too long to eat all of it too. And then like I would just be really like tired in the evening and stuff. So I don't know. And like worst case scenario, I could just like have an extra meal or something like that if I don't have enough energy on a given like day, especially considering the heat and all that stuff. So yeah, I'd say that I might be able to do this lifestyle long term, and it's opened up a lot of possibilities when I go to restaurants and stuff, because you know how there's like carbohydrates in everything. With keto, you're just going to like eat a salad or something like that, and maybe eat chicken.
Bacon.
Yeah, exactly. But with like carbs, you can like have all sorts of stuff. So
yeah,
there's my update.
Nice.
Thanks.
Sounds
Thank
like
you.
a lot of fun stuff going on for all of us.
Yeah.
I want to highlight a few things that are going on at the church, though, specifically youth ministries. So our Ignite kids on July 14th from 4 to 6, we're going to be at the church. We're going to be doing some gardening.
Woohoo!
Very exciting.
All right.
And in addition to that, so on July 20th, we're going to head to Dry Town Water Park. So for those that are still sweltering hot and maybe you want to join the youth, come on over.
I do.
You're going to have to pay.
It's not dry over there, right?
Keep that in mind. But Dry Town Water Park is awesome. They have a lazy river where you can just float in the water and it takes you all around. They have good food, good friends, good family. And for the youth, we've got faith. So
yay.
Please tell your kids.
Your wives. No.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Hide your kids. join us because we're really excited about everything that's coming up. Also, for July 28th until the 31st, we've got VBS from 5:30 to 8:30 p.m. on those respective days. If you haven't informed Beth that you are wanting to volunteer, please do so. We need volunteers for VBS if you're available. So please contact Beth. Her phone number is 91. No, what is your number, Beth? I guess you'd contact the church office.
You can contact the church office at 661-947-3103.
Nice.
And
excellent.
there's Food for Thought this Wednesday, and every Food for Thought leading up to VBS, I'm going to bring supplies to make decorations for VBS. And then I was looking at my calendar today and I realized I had scheduled a VBS meeting for yesterday. It's today already. So we'll be having a VBS meeting on July 14th in between services. That's this Sunday in between services.
All right. Very nice.
Fireside room.
Very exciting. The Fireside room, which is next to the Friendship Hall.
It's next to the Friendship Hall, you guys.
Yes, it's formerly known as the Social Hall.
Or what's the other one? Fellowship.
Fellowship.
Yeah. So a few things we're going to dive into. Beth, did you want to expand on anything with or update us on how your VBS planning is coming along with your Beth's Ministry Moment?
So I would say that VBS planning is coming along swimmingly. I'm currently making decorations as we record this podcast right now. I'm painting to-go boxes to look like clams, and I'm going to put googly eyes on for eyes, and then I'm painting these are ping pong balls for the little, pearl in the oyster shell.
Wow.
And today I was telling you guys before we started recording that Miriam and I were going to go to the store today to try to find ping pong balls and more bamboo skewers. And we made one stop, decided it was too hot to do anything, and we abandoned our VBS supply collecting. But then when I came back here to record the podcast, I had 2 Amazon boxes waiting for me, and it had bamboo skewers and ping pong balls. So now I lost all the slips. I don't know if these folks listen to the podcast, but these donations, and there were a few other things in it that I needed to, like ribbon and canvas drop cloths to put down on the stage. So turns out we didn't need to go to the store. It's good.
Wow.
So I'm painting ping pong balls and I'm assigning skewers to things. And anyway, these particular boxes are from James and Linda McDonald. So if you listen to this podcast, James and Linda McDonald, thank you so much for your donations. And anybody else listening to this podcast, if you want to find more ways to donate, just ask me and I'll help you out. You can call us at 661-947-3103.
Woo!
That is awesome, Beth. And I just want to say that is super creative that you're doing clams and you'll have googly eyes with to-go boxes. I mean, that is so cool.
I just want to tell you right now that I don't come up with this stuff. I just search for it on the internet. But when I have supplies that I don't need to buy, I get very excited.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Amber is home, so we have to wave to Amber.
Yes.
Bye, Amber. She was probably home this whole time, but she just stopped in to say hello.
She's been home the whole time, but I needed my computer charger.
Oh, well, it sounds like Amber rescued a potential inconvenience.
That's correct. That is why we married one another, was to prevent bad occurrences in one another's lives. So we just show up whenever one is needed.
Funny.
That sounds pretty good to me.
Yeah. Well, that leads us into our sermon feedback. Speaking of what I just said, whatever it was.
I don't know. I'm not sure what
It
you
was
said,
so long
Jessica.
ago, Jessica.
It was some time ago.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed.
But I'm really excited that we've started a new sermon series for this summer, the 6-week sermon series on the gospel according to Dr. Seuss. And this past Sunday, we went through the book Green Eggs and Ham. And the Bible, I can't think, guys. The book of the Bible that we focused in on was Ezekiel chapter 37. And it's really exciting to kind of look at books that we grew up potentially reading ourselves or someone reading them to us, or if this sermon series will bring new books into your life. I'm excited that we can at least reference them into modern day time, because I know these books were written a long time ago. Green Eggs and Ham was written in 1960. So
Right.
life was different in 1960 compared to 2024. But a lot of amazing things, that I love to see Pastor Jim go through. And I'm curious what your guys' feedback was regarding this past Sunday sermon.
So what I want to say, first of all, is I'm really glad that Pastor Jim brought up Seussical, because that's immediately what I was thinking when he went with the Dr. Seuss theme for his sermon series. In fact, I was so excited. I was doing the choir on this past Sunday. I was talking to one of our choir members about it. Hey, have you seen Seussical? And it was a good conversation. But ultimately, it was just super cool, like seeing all the pictures that Pastor Jim had of like all the characters, including himself. It just brings back so many fond memories for me. So that's one thing. And then secondly, I really like that he chose green eggs and ham, because I could have sworn that several weeks ago we were talking about green eggs and ham on this podcast when Pastor Jim did Seussical. So now I actually know the story of green eggs and ham, which I apparently did not know before. In that I didn't know how it ended, so I didn't know that Sam I Am was able to get the other fellow to enjoy the green eggs and ham. That's just a wonderful ending. My gosh. But yeah, that's really neat that Pastor Jim was able to relate that to the Ezekiel passage there. And do either of you remember like what it was that God said for Ezekiel, like regarding eating? I don't know if he told Ezekiel to eat it, but maybe I don't have the scripture right in front of me. But basically what he told Ezekiel was that whatever that was would taste like honey. I don't know if either of you remember what that was.
Yeah. So I think it was after he was talking about breath and ruah. And I think he was mentioning along the lines of the dry bones. That was from chapter 17. So I am thinking, or verse 17, I'm thinking it was towards the end, because that's the last portion of when he talked about it. So continue talking.
Okay.
I'll look it up.
Oh, I appreciate that. Yeah. So that leads into, now that we're into the Ezekiel part, what I was thinking, I thought it was really powerful what Pastor Jim was talking about, how you have like the dry bones, or you have like the graveyard, and what we can kind of relate our experience of spirituality to like our practice of faith not being full of life, right? So you have the dry bones that are not full of life. So our experience of our spirituality or faith could be like that, where what Pastor Jim was saying, we could just be going to church on Sunday, or even not even going to church in person on Sunday, just merely watching it online, or maybe even not even scheduling to watch it online, and not having like a practice where we connect with God and so forth. And I just really personally related with this because I think I find myself in cycles with my spirituality, where there's times where I'm like really fully cultivating my love for God. And then there's other weeks or days or something like that where I just basically, I don't know, like God is not like the primary thing that I'm like venturing out to do with my activities and things like that. And so I'm very grateful that God is always faithful to us. And so this is a really good reminder for me in this sermon, for me to like really put my faith at the forefront and really just keep it as simple as possible. I think so. If I can't read the Bible, then I can at least write something down about God, like in my journal or something, or just have like a quick prayer. But also like expand my opportunities. Like I think there was something that I read online recently about this person who was studying one verse in the scriptures, and he was studying that one verse for several days. So I could like keep it simple like that. So yeah, I think it was just really nice that just the content that Pastor Jim had here, like the reminder, but also like relating it to Dr. Seuss. Just yeah, I really enjoyed this sermon, and I'm looking forward to the rest of the series.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other thing is I really liked how we can kind of look at spirituality in our everyday experiences, or our experiences of different things in general. Like that reminds me of how Pastor Jim would go to Disneyland, and that would be a spiritual experience for him. And so that's really a powerful thing. We can find God in so many places, including Dr. Seuss, apparently.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not finding that verse, Tim.
Really?
I don't know if it's just the versions I'm looking at. I looked at the newly revised standard version. I looked at the NIV. Either way, I know what you're referencing, and I'm wondering if it was from one of the sources that he referenced in.
Yeah, maybe so.
Sermon. But either way, I think that reference to, you know, being as sweet as honey, all of that. There's a song that I love it's part of my worship night list because I put that together. And the song is called Honey in the Rock.
Ooh.
And it's by Brooke Ligertwood in Brandon Lake. I don't know, Ligertwood.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke Ligertwood, maybe? Ligertwood in Brandon Lake. Honey in the Rock is the name of the song. And it's so good. I love it, and I love singing it. I think it's, and it totally reminded me of that song when Pastor Jim was talking about that. Because the entire, you know, song in general, it references, you know, honey in the rock. Obviously, that is what the song was. But it, in terms of like the lyrics and stuff, the chorus is, there's honey in the rock, water in the stone, manna on the ground, no matter where I go. I don't need to worry now that I know everything I need, you've got. There's honey in the rock. Wow. And so it's just about like really depending on Jesus for everything that we need.
Wow.
And, you know, praying for a miracle, thirsty for the living well, only you can satisfy. Sweetness at the mercy seat. Now I've tasted, it's not hard to see. Only you can satisfy. There's honey in the rock. So
That is so cool.
anyways, yeah, I was like, man, I hope Don knows this song, but I think we definitely sing something else. But I'm excited to share it with everybody when I pick a date for my worship night. So
yeah.
but yeah, I definitely can relate in terms of, at times feeling like my spiritual well is just dry, and I'm seeking, this fulfillment of something. And it's like, I try to keep my day busy. I'll do all these things. And I'm always reminded of the way that being in silence and being still and just sitting there, and even just closing my eyes, maybe I'm outside and the wind is blowing, and just, taking in a breath and remembering how much God has done for me in my life, and how much he's just blessed and provided and shown up in so many different ways. And
wow.
I honestly just found myself during the sermon just so appreciative for everything that God has done in my life. And I was like, man, I just want to learn more about Jesus. And I don't know if you guys have ever had this happen where you're like, I don't want to go anywhere. I don't want to do anything. I just want to learn more about Jesus. I just want to stay home. Like,
yeah. All of this is true for me, except for the learn about Jesus part.
Oh,
I mean, I should make that my priority.
Gotcha. Yeah.
I'm a work in progress. I'm always working on it till the day I die. But mostly my whole struggle this summer has been, I don't want to go anywhere. I just want to stay home. But now I'll add the part and learn about Jesus.
Hey, that's great. Yeah, me too, Beth. That's a really good point.
Yeah.
And thanks, Jessica, for mentioning that.
No, I mean, I think that it's good to, reflect on the times when, it's good to have those seasons of feeling like you're yearning for something, and your spiritual well is just dry, and or maybe you're just feeling like, and this is a conversation that Amber and I had after church was, we went to the 11 o'clock and there were like probably maybe 15 people.
Yeah. There were 2 kids and only one came to Sunday school. Please continue.
Yeah. And so I'm just thinking, I kind of felt like, man, our church just feels so dry, and like,
oh wow,
I understand it's summer, but like, where is everybody?
Well, a lot of people are worshiping online too.
Right. And that's good. But how can we nourish one another if we're not with one another? And that's kind of where I get it. Everybody's life is busy. We've got things going on, but I feel like there's, in anything that Jesus did, it was with community, and it was with people, and it was people meeting at other people's houses that were so full that you couldn't even get in. And I'm just, how cool would that be if that was our sanctuary and our congregation was just overflowing?
I was thinking about that when Pastor Jim was doing the Wesleyan Heritage series, and he was talking about how John Wesley would preach to tens of thousands of people at one time.
Yeah.
And every time I would try to imagine that, like, my brain, that's too many people. I can't.
I know. I mean, it's crazy to think that every week that's what we do through this podcast. Tens of thousands of people listening to us.
Tens of thousands of people.
Yeah. I love that.
And we don't need to leave our house at all. I know. But it is interesting, and I don't know. I think my prayer for the church is that, I get it, it's summer, people are traveling, everybody's doing stuff, but
it's hot.
and it's 1,000 degrees outside. So hot that
90 degrees at 8 in the morning.
Yeah, 8 in the morning, maybe even 7.
Yeah.
Probably
Exactly.
4 in the morning.
Yeah, 4 in the morning for sure.
Yeah.
So very hot, too much. Can't handle it. So, I mean, I get it, but I think at the same time, it's just, I think it's easy to become complacent. It's easy to just be comfortable to be at home, but then how can you contribute to the church and step in to feel like you're part of the congregation at the church if we can't see each other in person and be one another and pray for one another and check in on each other? And so that's just kind of where my head went a little bit as well while we were having Reuben sandwiches over at Brooklyn Deli.
You want to know my secret to coming to church every Sunday?
What?
They pay me to.
Maybe we can do a...
At the same time, I am so thankful for this job because I probably would not leave the house ever if I didn't have to. No, just kidding. But I'm serious though, because there's so many times, like even like when it's not VBS, that I'm like, I don't want to come in today. I wish I could stay home. But I also am so thankful for that thing that does like force me to get up and get out, because I never regret it when I go to church.
Right.
Like, I always get to see people that I love. And the added bonus is that, it's not the added bonus is that I might get a little something. That's not why I'm doing it, but it's nice to have that extra money to buy more bamboo skewers or whatever. Craig is telling me, like, Craig is always saying to like the boys, for as much as like, I work for the church, he was like, I'm pretty sure we're not seeing any of that money at home. Like a lot of that money that I make usually does go back to the church in some way.
I think that also goes for like teachers as well. Like teachers, a lot of time they end up buying their own stuff, but maybe we could start a thing. I know we've picked up, give a prayer, take a prayer. Maybe for tithing, we can tithe and then give a tithe, take a tithe. Maybe that can be a new thing we start where so maybe the person to your left, hey, you take what they're tithing and you can put that. Maybe that will attract people to come in, Like, who are you going to sit next to Sunday morning? But any other thoughts though on
Jessica? Beth, do you want me to respond to
I did watch the sermon, but
I want to mention that I'm really glad that you brought that up, Jessica, about kind of the difference between like coming to church in person and then like just kind of going with online. And I think it's so like nice that we have an online experience, but it could just kind of like make it too convenient to where we have that complacency, like you were saying, Jessica. So like, for example, it's so convenient. Like, okay, you wake up in the morning and you're like, okay, I'm not feeling it. I can't come to church in person. But then it can even go further than that, where suddenly you get busy with something and the convenience goes further to the point that we have the streams on demand. So it's like, oh, I don't even have to tune in at 9 o'clock or 11 o'clock. I can tune in later on. But then we get busy with other things, like you were saying, like the spirituality kind of like flows into like trying to fulfill something. So like we could feel like we're getting a lot of things done and maybe we're doing things we enjoy, but then like at the end of the day, we don't spend time with God. So it's like, I think it's huge that we come to church in person if we can. I think that really brings us like that sense of community that we need, but then also that connectedness with God. And It's just a really great experience. And I think what one of us might have said this, it was either you or you, Jessica, or Beth, but basically, I feel the same, that I don't feel any regret when I come to church in person. Like, I feel like my day has just been so much better every single time. And so that's always something that we can think about. But yeah, going back to what I was saying before about like kind of like going in cycles with my spirituality, that's kind of what happens to me sometimes, where like I come to church in person several times, and then suddenly I kind of like get really busy, and then I watch it online one week, but then I find myself wanting to do that again the following week. So then I can avoid that by just coming to church in person and having a spiritual practice, and then like trying to, in kind of what Jessica was saying, instead of just trying to fill my like energy with something, instead putting that energy towards God and Jesus and some kind of like spiritual practice that really like speaks volumes.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard for us some mornings where like, I don't want to go, or, and it reminds me of when I was a kid and I was like, I don't want to go to church. Now, then I remembered, the pastor gives out donuts to the kids. And so,
like sometimes shaved watermelon, iced watermelon.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that was the third thing. I was so glad I was there yesterday. I would have anyway, but
it was so good.
Yeah.
But there's something about, and I know the word disciple, it does not come from the word discipline. It's more of like a learner, like that's where disciple comes from.
Yeah.
In my mind, there's, this is my own perspective. This has nothing that's applied within the United Methodist Church or Pastor Jim, but I think of a disciple of having discipline. And part of that discipline is, if you're going to a church, the discipline of showing up and going and, but like I said, that's just me though. I mean, because there are Sundays where we are so busy that we literally cannot make it to church because our schedules are so busy that we have to watch the online version. So I get it,
right.
But that's my, what is it? Motherly guidance, whatever.
I think you really are alluding to something there, Jessica, that is like scriptural. What? Oh, tough love.
Yeah.
But I think you are alluding to something that is ultimately scriptural, because it kind of reminds me of last week where Pastor Jim was talking about the fruits of the Spirit. And one of the fruits of the Spirit is self-control. So if we're being a disciple of Jesus, we want to exhibit that self-control and like maybe time our activities a little better so that we can come to church in person a little bit more often. I think that's excellent. Now that's difficult to do when you have ADHD, but I think we can. I think so.
Basically, you're saying that our congregation, everybody has ADHD. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm not saying that every. Oh my God!
It has been written. Okay, that's well, cool. Anything else that you guys have insight in from this past Sunday's sermon?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Cool. I want to hear it.
Okay. I was waiting for you to tell me you wanted to hear it in case you were like, no, not today, Beth.
Okay. Oh, no. We always want to hear all the things, Beth.
No, I know. No, Tim. That was a joke. Yeah. So I liked what, Tim, what you were saying about, Pastor Jim and how he goes to Disneyland and to kind of like be with God there. I always say I can find a Jason Mraz lyric for just about anything. And that's what this makes me think of. One of my favorite songs is all of them, but this one in particular is called Be Where Your Feet Are. And
cool.
And it's basically a reminder to stay grounded and like Anyway, he says things. Every time I try to follow someone's way, my end result is not the same. But then I do that thing I do that's just for me. And amazing things start happening and again and again. And the chorus is, every time I think I'm stuck, the sun moves along and my shadow gets up. If you're lost, relax and be where your feet are. So,
wow.
Yeah. And so I think about that particular line all the time. I do that thing I do that's just for me. And like, I'm trying to instill that within my own self, even if it's like even if I'm too tired to open up my Bible, I can still take, 10 minutes for quiet. And yesterday I've been, bless you, 3 times, bless you. You can't hear it, but I could see it. And Jessica just sneezed 3 times.
Beth has just become a pastor. She's just randomly saying,
bless you, my child. And so I keep thinking about that because I get really, what happens when I get overwhelmed is that like, I just abandon everything, including things that are fun. So
right.
like, I'm not going to do anything. I'm not going to do things I like. I'm not going to do things I don't like. I'm just going to sit here and watch television or whatever. But last night I was like, I was going to do that thing I do that's just for me. And I was like, I don't feel like doing anything. So I was like, I'm going to play my online World of Warcraft game. So I logged in, bless you. And I did some stuff. And then I was like, I'm not feeling this at all. I don't want to play. But I also didn't want to just be spending my whole night scrolling on my phone.
Right.
And so my friend recently gave me a book for my birthday. And my birthday was in June, but she did just recently give me this book like a couple days ago. So it's called, oh my goodness. It's called Once Upon an Upset. And the author is Jessica Laurel Kane, I think. I think she has a blog online and she shares a bunch of stuff online and she made it into a book. And my friend Marlene has this magnet on her fridge that says, you don't need to work on yourself. Yourself is fine. Work on understanding your reactions. Those are the things that keep dragging you away from yourself. So I commented on that. Or no, I was at her house and I saw the magnet and I was like, I love that magnet. And then like a few days later, she was like, here's this book. The quote was from this blogger and I don't know if the magnet came with the book or not, but there was a magnet in my book and I was really excited. It's on my refrigerator now.
Wow.
But that's what I did last night. I was like, I'm just going to sit down and read this book. And it's so good. I've been highlighting stuff and I've been taking pictures of other stuff that's too long to highlight. And yesterday I was reading it and there was a quote on there that like made me tear up a little bit. And it says, healing, when one part of the self suddenly realizes it matters and begins learning to care for the other parts of the self that still aren't so sure.
Wow.
I was like, whoa.
That's amazing.
And so, I mean, I'm not reading the Bible, but I still feel like that's
right.
something. And
absolutely.
So that's what I did last night. And I'm still trying to like find those things. I'm in a really like, I think it's the heat. I talked about that before we started recording, but I'm just in like, I'm really grumpy and irritable and like sadder than I think I should be at this time in my life.
Mhm.
And like, and I realized I haven't been doing the stuff that I enjoy, like the stuff I need to be doing, like doing my exercises. I was thinking about how it's too hot out to do exercises outside, but luckily I have a VR to do indoor exercises
Oh,
and
wow.
indoor treadmill. Am I doing any of that stuff right now? I'm not. And so like I need to be. And so I'm going to try to be more mindful of including that stuff to make me a whole person. And anyway, so that's what I got from what you said, Tim, I guess. And then the second thing is I've had, you know, that song, them bones, them dry bones, you know,
Yeah.
that's been stuck in my head since last Tuesday when he had us read the scripture, do the scripture journaling in our staff meeting. And then there's another phrase that's just been in my head as a result of that scripture too. And are you familiar with John Mulaney?
Yes.
I'm not.
Okay, well, in one of his he's a comedian, Tim, and in one of his like first comedy albums oh no, okay, it was just I thought I turned off my entire computer because one of the wires was loose. It was just the monitor. The monitor went black, and I was like, no. So he has this bit where he's talking about how his parents were lawyers, and like they would try to like be lawyers on him when he was a kid, and his dad would be like, John, did you brush your teeth? And he would say, yes. And then his dad said, well, I just felt your toothbrush and it was bone dry. So I have the phrase bone dry stuck in my head because of the scripture, but also because we were playing the chameleon, and I can't remember what, I think it was like forms of entertainment or something, and the word was stand up. So I think I put I said comedy or something, or like a special. I don't remember, but I said something, and then Craig said special. Owen said something weird, and Jonah said bone dry. And I laughed so hard because I knew he was not the chameleon in that moment, because he said bone dry, and
oh my gosh, that is so funny.
So those are my takeaways.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, you know, what?
Oh, Craig was like, no, Jonah's the chameleon because blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh, he most definitely is not. He didn't know that bit.
So dry.
Yeah.
Beth, I just wanted to say I'm really glad you brought up this kind of general, like full-on subject of kind of like finding ourselves in a position where we're not doing the things that we know are going to help us. Right. Scrolling on social media, or in my case, I scroll on YouTube and Reddit and do random internet searches and things like that.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, this morning I did exactly that. I was on YouTube and I was scrolling on YouTube, not even fully watching a video, but just maybe a couple seconds or a couple minutes or something like that. And I realized that I wasted 45 minutes of my morning that I could have been doing something way more enjoyable, so that I could actually be refreshed for my my work day. And I feel like that's all the things in a given day. We're constantly making choices between things that are going to really help us, that we really want to do, and then things that we just kind of are impulsively driven to do for some reason. And I feel like when we put God at the forefront, we're more inclined to do those things that we really think are going to help us. Just recently, a few days ago, I was listening to Pride and Prejudice on my way home. I think it was actually yesterday. on my way home from church. I was listening to Pride and Prejudice, and I'm like, I've wanted to listen to this for like more than a month, and this is the first time that I actually tuned into it. And why did I wait so long? And so I think if we can kind of like align ourselves with God more, then that kind of like naturally unfolds into like everything else good that we want to do in our lives that is really going to help us. Like you were saying, Beth, about exercising or like reading that book that you were mentioning and stuff like that. So yeah, that I'm really glad you brought that point up. I can really relate to that.
Yeah.
Well, I found this meme that I posted on my Facebook a couple of weeks ago, and it says, "Let me get this straight. Depression/anxiety/ADHD/chronic illness will make me not have the energy to take care of myself, but the only way to feel better is to take care of myself."
What?
What a scam.
I think that's a really tough thing with people with ADHD or just people that have like mental health stuff going on is the motivation to like start something and really follow through with it. And it's funny that you started reading a book yesterday, Beth, because I was kind of in the mindset of you, Tim, where I'm like, I waste so much time just scrolling. And I'm like, life is so short. I want to be able to learn things and like get new perspectives on things. And so I started the book that I've been really wanting to read. And it's one of my friends wrote a book called Queering Contemplation. And I'm so excited about it. I literally read half the book yesterday.
Wow.
And I was upset that I had to go to bed because I wanted to finish the book.
Oh, yeah.
That's amazing.
And so it's just, and right now it's like, I have so much work to do later tonight after the podcast. And I'm like so upset because I'd prefer to just go get ice cream with Amber and then come back and finish the book. Like to me, that would be awesome. That would be like, what a great way to end a Monday. But life, right? And so it really just, I think we're all in the same mindset. And I think it's a reminder of pay attention to what you're doing and for how long, and how are you investing in your mind, and how are you investing in your faith? And on your day to day, try to add that to something like, before I go to sleep tonight, I want to learn one new thing about Jesus, or I want to learn one new thing about, how I can be a better human. And I think that would be something that could really start a new journey for you in terms like, and by you, I mean, everybody, whoever's listening, all billion people that are listening.
We're changing lives right now, right this second.
Yes. And just remembering that if you're feeling like you have this spiritual dryness and you just want to be, filled up with God and have that spirit and the breath just back into you, into your lungs, think about how you've had your day and what have you done to put that breath into your lungs? What is going on in there? Because are you just scrolling? Is that what is being breathed into you? Is that the breath that's going in? I think looking at it in that way can really kind of wake you up a little bit.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy. Awesome.
On that note, Jessica, you just made me remember that I've been having a little bit of trouble sleeping lately. So when the stuff I usually take doesn't work, I try to find other methods. And so I looked up, I didn't look it up. It just came into my YouTube, whatever. I was looking for some sort of meditation, and this was like meditation that had scripture in it, and it talked about scripture. I can't remember what it was, but I thought that, so even that's an option.
And actually, go ahead.
I'm trying to find it. I can't.
Okay. So this is kind of funny, but like you could even watch videos on YouTube. People actually read the Bible and they do ASMR. So they'll whisper the verses, And it's actually like a really relaxing kind of like meditative or otherwise spiritual experience.
What kind of
Instead of
ASMR is it though? Is there whispering?
Yeah, it's just that people are whispering like Bible verses.
I don't enjoy that. I don't know why.
Tim, just call Beth before you go to bed and say, "Hey, will you read to me Ezekiel 37?" And then Beth will just be like this. So God said.
Oh, and I can just imagine Tim all like snuggled up with his blankies and his teddy bear and just really getting into the story. Yeah. Oh,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, but that's what it reminded me of. Yeah, so that's great. Like, get the verse from, like, it doesn't have to be just the Bible in front of us, but it can also be like I mentioned about ASMR or a meditation video, like you were mentioning, or you could even have like audio from the Bible app. Like the Bible app that we have, I don't think it has all the translations in audio form, but there's certain translations that you can get, like the Common English Bible. There's a public domain translation called the World English Bible that you can get audio for. There's the New International Version you can get audio for. So yeah, like that way you can listen to the Bible while you're like driving or doing other things, which is a really cool prospect and a way to make it a little more flexible and convenient.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I think we took a lot of amazing things away from the sermon, and very exciting. Awesome. I'm looking forward to next week's. Again, Dr. Seuss, all about it. So this will be pretty fun. But
yeah, I'm excited.
Do you guys have any prayer requests? Or everybody just doing pretty solid?
I'm not. So this is something.
I'm not well.
Yeah, so this is something that I was going to mention during the sermon feedback, but it's perfect that I mention it now, actually, even better. I would like a prayer to kind of be able to cultivate that appreciation, like I was mentioning before, for the things that I have to do that require effort. And then looking forward to their completion. But also I've been having kind of this weird like feeling, and I don't know if it's like just some kind of low-key sadness or something, but like I just feel like I'm sort of like on automatic mode or something. Like I'm not a robot or something, but just kind of feel like everything is just sort of happening in front of me, and I'm not really involved, like I'm not really fully in control of anything. But I am. That's the thing. It's just like this weird like feeling. So I guess maybe a prayer for me to like figure that out and like get that sense of agency back and maybe connect with God more, so that I can feel like I have more of a grip on like everything that I'm doing, and everything that I'm doing is meaningful and like important and so forth. Anybody can take that prayer if they want. Anybody in the audience, the two of you.
Over here.
Let's throw the prayer.
Nobody else can have it. Dibs on that prayer. Just kidding. Is that how praying works?
I think so. Yeah, it's kind of like a soccer ball or a baseball.
So, I would appreciate some. Maybe I'll face the camera to tell you.
That's okay.
Okay, I would like prayers that we survive this heat.
Oh gosh, yes.
Prayers that maybe things cool down. And I was more productive than I don't know. I was more productive in the last week than I have been the past few weeks, but I still need to continue this productivity because maybe that's basically tomorrow. and that's stressing me out a lot, but it's going to be okay. So prayers that everything will be okay, because I know it will be.
Yeah, absolutely, Beth. Thank you for sharing that.
Was that a real prayer? I don't know.
I think it is.
Jessica, what would you like us to pray for you?
I think just, continuing to focus on ways that I can deepen my relationship with Jesus and learn about different other people's perspectives on their faith and just like the book I'm reading, so many different perspectives and, because I think it's so common for us to just focus on our perspectives and our own biases, but I think it's really healthy for us to look at other people's journeys and see how God has worked in their lives and how their faith journey has been, and just really dissecting, the Bible in general. And I've just been really excited about that. And I want that to continue because it fills my cup so much more than being on Instagram and, trying to find weird things on Facebook Marketplace. So, and another thing is, I got another book that's coming tomorrow, and I'm really excited to read it because I'm thinking of, Amber and I are wanting to start a small group for the young adult life group because we haven't been doing much. And so we would really love to take charge. And we're going to meet with Pastor Jim next Tuesday to look at discipleship books. But there's a book that I ordered. I'm going to read it. It's called How the Bible Actually Works. And I'm really excited about it because it's in which I explain how an ancient, ambiguous, and diverse book leads us to wisdom rather than answers, and why that's great news. And it's a book by Peter Enns.
Oh, wow.
And so I'm really excited to read it. And maybe this is something that, we could all read as for young adult life group. And maybe it won't be. Maybe it'll just be a book I'm like, oh, this was a good book. But
I would vote for that book because I read another book, The Bible Tells Me So by Peter Enns, and I almost got through that whole book. And he's a fantastic author. And I think I
bought that book the last time you mentioned it, but I haven't read it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think it really is it has the spirit of the Wesleyan quadrilateral in it. I think everybody's going to circle a table, actually.
It's a table made out of circles.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that'll be a perfect pick, and I'm really looking forward to that, Jessica. If you and Amber want to spearhead that, I think it would be a huge success. With that not only the community there that we have, but also the that book, I think would be a great start.
Cool. Well, I appreciate you giving me that feedback, Tim, because that's helpful. So yeah, that's kind of I don't even know if that was a prayer request or it was just me telling you.
Wait, that's what I said.
Yeah. I think that it's not really prayer request. It's more of one last thing, it's like,
yeah. That kind of reminds me of how I was going to mention. I don't know if this was the aside that I wanted to mention, but an aside I did want to mention now is if you go on the Apple area where you have our podcast episodes, I think Beth left a review and her username was Bethodist. And I just thought it was so
cool. And I said something really stupid. I don't remember what it was, but it was stupid.
No, I think you mentioned John Wesley, and
that reminds me, if you're listening to this and you haven't left a review on Apple Podcasts or anything, just leave us a review, something that we can kind of look back on. And that way, if there's other people out there who are trying to find a podcast, you can provide some good, feedback on how we're doing. Yeah. And you can be brutally honest. That's totally fine. Sometimes you need that. So
maybe people are looking for the world's silliest church podcast and they don't know where to find it because it's a really niche genre of podcast.
You think so?
I don't know. I mean, it's yeah. But yeah, so that's all I have to say about that. But
Are you quoting Forrest Gump?
pretty
That's
much,
all I've got to say about that.
yeah, for sure. But all that being said,
stay mad, you Methodists. Have a great week.
We all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.